Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. If you're a brand new business student or maybe dreaming up your very first startup, you've got to know the rules of the game. We're going to break down the core objectives of business law into simple, bite-sized pieces. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, imagine you're launching your first company. You've got an amazing product, you found your customers, and you're ready to sell. You might be thinking, why do we need all this legal red tape? Why can't we just trade freely? Well, business law exists specifically to protect everyday people from fraud and sketchy activities. It sets up our rights and our obligations. Literally, without these ground rules, the modern business world would be absolute chaos.
Here's what we're covering today. First, an intro to business rules. Second, taxes and employee rights. Then, healthy work cultures, followed by government and fair competition, and we'll wrap it up with a quick recap.
All right, part one, introduction to business rules.
It's actually really cool to look right at the handwritten study notes from our source material. The objectives of business law are mapped out perfectly here. You know, the modern business world has gotten so complex, which has really expanded what business law has to cover. It's not just one random rule. It is a whole system built to stop exploitation and keep things running smoothly. From these notes, we can pull out 5 main objectives. Let's look at them one by one.
Moving on to part two, taxes and employee rights.
So objective number 1 is taxation law. I know taxes sound super intimidating, right? But simply put, it just means that the government designs a tax system that actually matches the kind of business you're running. Think about it. A giant shopping mall shouldn't be taxed the exact same way as a tiny mom-and-pop partnership. Business law makes sure the government can plan a tax system that actually makes sense for specific economic activities.
Objective number 2 is a big one, and it's all about protecting you, the worker. It focuses on employee rights and duties. Our notes explicitly point out that business law is designed to minimize employee exploitation. And how exactly does it pull that off? By creating government policies that take your rights seriously. We're talking about structured things like the ESI, that's employee state insurance, along with other health insurance provisions. It also regulates salary systems, so things like wage administration are strictly monitored. Basically, it guarantees that when you put in a hard day's work, your paycheck and your health are legally protected.
Which brings us to part 3, healthy work cultures.
Now, as you can probably tell, these rules aren't strictly about dollars and cents. They're about the day-to-day reality of your job. The third objective says that business law actually aims to make the internal environment of an organization friendly. Just think about that for a second. The law literally cares about the vibe inside the building. It's not just looking at outward sales, it's looking inward at the people.
This directly ties into building a healthy work culture. According to our study materials, business law makes a positive work environment a mandated priority. It legally pushes companies to be fair and equitable with their teams. Because when a workplace is friendly, people actually feel secure and supported. It just goes to show that human well-being is a core pillar of a solid business.
Next up, part 4, government and fair competition. But hey, you're probably wondering what happens when things completely hit the fan. That is objective 4, government involvement. Look, sometimes companies run into massive conflicts that they just can't fix on their own. Our text highlights major issues like strikes or lockouts. When things break down to that level, the government steps in. But they don't just wing it. Business law gives them the exact framework to use. The government creates specific legal and ethical rules to safely and fairly solve the problem and get everything back on track.
And finally, objective number 5, ensuring healthy competition across the market. Could you imagine trying to play a game where every single player had a totally different set of rules? That would be a nightmare and incredibly unfair.
So how do we keep competition healthy? Well, business law sets up uniform rules for everyone. By applying the exact same laws to all business entities, it levels the playing field. It physically prevents anyone from getting a sneaky, unfair advantage. If a company tries to violate the government's rules, they're penalized. This cuts way down on fraud and keeps the entire market trustworthy.
All right, let's move to part 5, our lesson recap.
We've definitely covered a lot of ground in this explainer. To wrap up, if you're just starting out in business law, just lock in these 5 core objectives. Step 1, taxation law is tailored to the business type. Step 2, employee rights are protected through things like insurance and fair wages. Step 3, it mandates a friendly internal work environment. Step 4, the government can intervene in major disputes like strikes. And Step 5, it guarantees healthy competition with uniform rules for everyone.
The biggest takeaway here, these laws are not just annoying red tape designed to slow you down. They are absolute lifesavers. They protect regular people, they keep employees safe, and they make sure the business world stays fair. Honestly, they're the bedrock of an ethical, successful economy.
All right, class dismissed. But before you go, I want to leave you with one final thought. When you finally step out there and launch your own company, how are you going to handle these 5 objectives? Will you view them as a burden, or will you use them as your blueprint to build something responsible and sustainable? Keep that in the back of your mind. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep on learning.